So somebody's asked me about why spiritual people experience so much trauma, and I was wanting to address this because it's quite important. However, when I was tuning into this, I received a question back, and it was, why do trauma survivors become spiritual? So there's really different perspectives on this. One perspective is the spiritual perspective, and one perspective is the real life human being perspective. I really feel that trauma survivors become spiritual because it's a way for us to deal with reality, and is a way for us to sort of make sense of the nonsense. It is a way to still be able to live our lives even though this and that happened. Through our spirituality, we're also able to access tools, healing tools that we wouldn't otherwise have, that could help us move through these experiences and heal ourselves internally so that we can live better lives. So I wrote a couple things down that were coming through. So trauma teaches us to connect deeper with ourselves. Trauma challenges our worldview. We begin to question things more. And as your reality changes, you gain a deeper perspective. So another thing that I'm realizing, the trauma has actually somehow, I wouldn't say catapulted an awakening, but trauma has the power to wake people up. So even though some of our trauma can potentially put us asleep, dissociate us, cause all kinds of problems, another trauma, maybe a similar trauma or a different trauma, can then again make us wake up or come out of our deep slumber. So as a trauma survivor and a spiritual person, you will seek to understand the world you live in more. You gain what we would call depth perspective. This is like other layers of this dimensions, experiences that we wouldn't otherwise gain. A lot of people live very superficial lives. They never go deep. They're just constantly on this superficial place, right? And when you're experiencing extreme circumstances, you're actually diving really deep down. So this means you're experiencing multiple layers of your human experience here that a lot of other people who never experienced trauma or very little trauma, they never have that perspective or that depth perspective that you have. So now you're able to go really, really deep into the cores of the issues or the problems that the world's facing or people are facing, where other people who didn't experience trauma wouldn't be able to draw from that wealth of, or that well of power. It's actually like a well, right? When you're diving really deep down and you're accessing all this information and this wisdom and this understanding, it's like a well that you can drink from to help other people with. So another thing I wrote down is, it deepens our relationship with ourselves and God, or the higher self and the universe. You gain another few levels of perception you wouldn't otherwise get. Your soul knew it was going to happen. So even though on our perspective, it's like we had no idea, like we didn't realize what we were in, the soul understood exactly what was going to happen before it was incarnating in this life. So the soul knew it was going to happen and accepted that challenge because of the immense level of growth it could achieve through it. So the soul doesn't really care too much about how bad it's going to be and whatever the experience is. It really just sees, oh my goodness, there's a chance for me to make leaps and bounds in growth and maturity that I would never be able to do if I wasn't doing that life. So even as you, as a human being, it's really hard to go through these experiences, and it's sometimes heartbreaking and devastating. On the soul perspective, the amount of human experience that will enrich that soul and God in its essence as well, that depth that will be gained, is like, it's almost like you're creating more dimensions, more space for souls and for life to develop. So before the soul incarnated, it didn't fully comprehend the pain and difficulty it would feel, but it felt that it would be able to do it. It would be able to do it. It would be possible to achieve this mission. And I try to stay away from the word mission, but on the soul perspective, it does feel like a mission. It saw that the benefit of this life outgrew the suffering. And I fully understand that sometimes when we talk about the spiritual perspective of trauma in a way that we knew about it, it almost sometimes sounds a little bit like victim blaming, like you knew about it, so it's your fault, you chose it and whatever, but that's baloney. It's not like that. You know, the abuser is always at fault for their actions. They are causing the problem. So their soul is having to go through the experience of what they're experiencing and doing the learning through that experience as well. But it's never a victim's fault for being in a bad situation, you know, and having to experience something horrific. We have to always remember that when we talk about spiritual experiences or the soul perspective or higher perspectives, that these are sometimes very detached perspectives from physical, real life human experiences. It's just another way of looking at it because there's so many layers to our experiences. But on the physical, real human life experience that we have, of course, it doesn't look at all like that. And I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change that perspective. I think that our spiritual experiences can really help us move through our life experiences. You know, they can help us and assist us to find hope or reason for being, or see like a goal or something, like the light behind that tunnel, right? And so I really think that spirituality is very helpful overall. It only becomes a problem if people lack perception, you know, and they are throwing things out there. They think that they're now these healers and whatever, but they're still lacking a lot of perception on how this really works, a lot of understanding that they're missing, or things they're not remembering, or they're not really studying the physical implications of the spiritual concepts that they are trying to grasp and trying to throw out there into the public. And this is actually one of the reasons why even in the Bible it says do not throw pearls in front of swine, you know, because a lot of people don't have the understanding of these things. And so when you are just throwing stuff out there, and this is why I've been holding back a lot too, because I wanted to make sure that I'm gaining enough perception then that I am not missing too many things, so that I'm able to actually be helpful to another person and I'm not causing harm to another person. So that's kind of the point of, you know, not putting the wagon in front of the horse, so to speak. I also do believe that a lot of people who have very tough lives and have difficult experiences really are very courageous souls. I feel they've had probably many lifetimes already, and they knew that they would be able to do this. You know, and on that soul level, it feels like it's this great service that you're doing for humanity, for your soul's growth, for the expansion of the universe, for God, whatever it is. But I feel that these are very courageous souls that have come here to and allowed themselves to go through these experiences so that they can be the change bringers, or the transformers, so to speak, of this reality and of humanity, to help humanity evolve and grow.